Peace, peace. Thank everybody for tuning in to the School of Thought Conference line. Today we have with us Joseph Indra L. Peace, peace, cousin. How's everything going with you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, cousin.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now, cousin.
All right, all right. You know, I'm noticing I have to mute and unmute my phone once you leave and come back. But you know, it's all good. So you can hear me, right?
I sure can.
Okay. So this is Brother Yusuf Indra L, and we're back again. I'm glad to be back again on the show. And you know, we got some interesting stuff to talk about today. I'm gonna go into a few different other things than I went into. Besides instead of going into exactly what I went into last week, but this still will be considered a continuation because I'm still sharing my personal spiritual experiences, and I also hope to help some people today with something that I think a lot of people are dealing with, a lot of children and young adults deal with mostly, which is something called incubuses and succubuses. And we're going to go into that today and give people more clarity on that and a few other experiences. We're also going to get into attaching spirits, was just another word for ghost. We're going to get into some of that stuff and, you know, give people a better understanding and let people know that these things are very real and people should pay attention to them. I don't care if you're Muslim, Christian, Catholic, Jewish, you're a Jew, whatever, doesn't matter. These things affect everybody, and they could be affecting a lot of the children. They could be affecting a lot of children. So we're going on that today. And if you have you want to intercept any time, cousin, and you want to get in and ask me a question, just let me know, all right?
Okay, cool.
Okay. Well, the first thing I think I want to get into today is I want to get into something that I think plagues a lot of homes, and I think everybody in this world probably has had this experience once or twice in their life. And some people think it's demonic, some people think it's something evil, and it could be considered as those things. But tonight we're going to do a show on, we're going to talk about this incubus thing starting out. Incubus and succubus, and for most people who don't know what this is, these are basically entities, and most people know them as entities that hold them down at night when they're sleeping. Some people have had this, right, and some people have had this experience when they're sleeping at night and they can't move, they become paralyzed, or you even feel like you've had sex with someone while you were sleeping. Sometimes these entities will pop up in your dream as someone you want to be intimate with, because they know what you like, they know your fantasies, because a lot of these entities are what you call thought forms, and thought forms are entities that are created through your imagination. And just to be clear, Albert Einstein said the imagination is more powerful than knowledge. Think about that for a second. Imagination is more powerful than knowledge. That's because Albert Einstein knew the secret. He knew what the imagination really was. The imagination is connected to the fourth dimension, which we call the astral plane. Some people call it the dream world. You know, some people call it the dream world. And, you know, these entities are connected to that. They're also connected to our thoughts. So these entities, they tend to feed off of our thoughts, whether they're positive or negative, mostly negative, and they also feed off of sexual energy, these particular entities. And, you know, the occultist Walt Disney, who most people don't know that, you know, he is an occultist, and he was an occultist. Walt Disney, who hid a lot of occult and magical things in his movies and his cartoons and his TV shows. He was definitely a magician and definitely an occultist. And one thing they have at one thing they have at Walt Disney is something called the Magical Kingdom. People need to pay that close attention. The Magical Kingdom. Well, Magi Nation, the imagination means the Magical Kingdom. So when you're talking about the Magical Kingdom at Walt Disney, you're actually talking about the imagination, and that's something that they play big on in Walt Disney in Disney World. They even have Mickey Mouse sometimes dressing up as a wizard, And I'll leave that for people to judge whether it's right or wrong or whatever, they want to believe, because the word occult means hidden. It doesn't mean anything else. We could put whatever we want to put on there, but the word occult simply means hidden, the hidden knowledge, the hidden stuff. So occultist studies that left-hand path tree that God told Adam not to eat off of, which was the tree of knowledge and good and evil. That's why it's hidden. So to get into this,
also known as the tree of life as well.
Well, the tree of life is separate from the tree of knowledge and good and evil. They're the same, but they're separate, and they're separate in the level of the tree of life is a tree that Adam continuously ate off of, that God wanted him to eat off of, that kept Adam in an illusion. Okay, it never allowed Adam to reach his full potential. And what was the gift of following God's commandment? You will live forever. You will live ever, but live where? You will live in this illusion.
That's what I was talking about, because you had the tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life. And that's why I mentioned the tree of life, because that was another one of the trees that was there. That was there. Exactly. And that's why the tree of knowledge and good and evil was also there, because they're the same tree, but they have two different polarities or energies to them. But as soon as he ate off of that good old tree of knowledge and good and evil, something happened, something changed. He woke up. He was able to look at himself for the first time and realize that, oh my God, I'm in an illusion. What am I doing naked? And why would God want to see a naked man walking around? Something to think about, you know what I'm saying? Something to think about, Why would God want to see a naked man just walking around? Looking at me walking around, and people make up things, say, oh, he was innocent, and okay, whatever. But the fact of the matter is he was still naked. And I want people to understand that this is nothing against the Bible. I'll read the Bible myself, but it's just something for people to think about. People really need to think about these things and start reading the Bible on a deeper level. Also something that goes into the tree of knowledge and good and evil is most people don't understand this unless they read the deeper mysteries of the Jewish system, where they say that Adam had a wife before Eve. And most people don't even know about this story. Some people do. Like I said, there are a lot of Christians that I will admit they do study. I've met many of them. They do research and study. And Adam had a wife called Lilith. And I'm going to get into this succubus, incubus thing in a second, but I think this is just important to understand. Adam had a wife called Lilith. And there's a apocryphal book called the Book of Adam and Eve. And most people don't even know this apocryphal book exists. But in the Book of Adam and Eve, Eve was created before Adam. This is very interesting, very deep, and we understand now, we understand now why a lot of these things were taken out of the Bible. The original Bible, I always tell people, had 80 books in it. And if anybody ever want reference on what that Bible is, I could tell them. 80 books in it, and the book we read today has 66 books. That means books were taken out. Put down on the table.
Okay, well, there's a book called the 1611 King James Version Bible. Most Christians don't read it because it doesn't match up with the Bible they read today. But that would be foolish to not read that version, because the Bible you read today says that it's been revised and recopied, which means that it ain't the original. So the
the original King James Version that was created by King James himself was the 1611 King James Version Bible. And in this Bible, there are books, and now the book of there are some apocryphal books that are not in there, but because they took some out before they finished the Bible. But there are still some books in there that are not in the Bible today, and those are still considered apocryphal books. And that is a very good Bible that every Christian should read, the 1611 King James Version Bible. Because one of the most powerful things you'll see in that Bible is that this Bible, the name Jesus is not in there.
Exactly.
Let me repeat that again for people to understand. The original Bible that was created in America, for America, the 1611 King James Version Bible, and it was authorized because you better not be caught reading no other version, according to King James. You better not be caught reading no other version. This is the authorized version. You better read this one. So the authorized original King James Version Bible, the name Jesus is not in there. What you're going to find is the name Jesus. Or you can pronounce it different ways. Or Isus. You can also pronounce it Isus. And the truth of the matter is, that is actually a code word for the god Dionysus. Or Dionysus. And Dionysus has the exact same story as Jesus Christ. And Dionysus was an entity that existed before Jesus Christ ever came to this planet. If you follow his birth from the time he was born to the time he died. Dionysus was an older Greek god. So that's one of the mysteries of that Bible. And actually you can also, and Dionysus was the son of Zeus. And you can also take Isus and translate it to Hell Zeus. Hell Zeus. So that's just something for people to think about. But to go back to this,
let's deal with that, because I mean, being that you're there and we can, go back into what you had aforesaid. Let's deal with that, because I believe that people need to know, who they're calling on and what energy, what divine being, are they calling on and are they connecting with? So, I'd like for you to touch on that, and then we'll backtrack and go back to what you had talked about before. I think this is a very, very important thing, because, you got the Hebrew Israelite community, and not only just them, but other communities, that'll say that wasn't his name. They say it was, Yeshaya. Some will say, that it was Yahweh Shai. You know what I'm saying? Then you have other, like the Ashkenazi, they'll say it's Yeshua. You see what I mean? So, with that being said, then let's deal with who, cousin, are they really calling on? What is this energy? People use the name Jesus to deal with dark forces, demonic forces, if you will. So let's dive into that. I think that it'll be remiss of us not to touch on that.
Right. Okay. Well, I would love to do a show on this in the future to go even deeper, but I will go into some of that right now.
Let's
so
touch
people.
on it briefly. We could do it.
Okay.
We can make that in the part 3 episode.
Okay. Cool. Well, to understand this on a deeper level, I just got to be completely blunt with people, and not, like I said, I'm not trying to be disrespectful or anything, but it just has to be said. And people are going to disagree with me. It's okay, but the truth of the matter is this, and I'm gonna go deep on this one. Jesus really doesn't exist, and that's just the truth of the matter. There is no higher entity, and you guys are listening to somebody that has been on these higher spiritual realms.
Wait a minute, what? He wasn't an ascended master?
Jesus does not exist. He does not exist. The name Jesus is actually borrowed from a Pope's son. It's borrowed from a Pope's son. His image is also borrowed from a Pope's son. And actually, the name Jesus is not even a Hebrew word. So how could he actually be Jesus? So even if Jesus did exist and he was a real Hebrew, why would you call him Jesus? You see what I'm saying? Like you're taking.
There's no J in the Hebrew language.
Exactly. So his name would be, and if they called him Yahshua, which some people may say Yahweh Shah, you know, which is really the same word. You know, if somebody called him Yahshua and there's no J in Hebrew, well, if you put a J in front of Yahshua, it translates to Joshua. Joshua. Not Jesus. Jesus is a Greek word. And you're dealing with Greek energies and Greek gods when you call them those names. Now, these gods don't desire the worship of the Christians, but they will eat up that energy. Like I said, Dionysus. Dionysus is a real entity. Dionysus really exists on the higher spiritual realms. You know? And this is just a fact of the matter. And for a long time, as a person who used to be very black conscious, I had a hard time believing that European gods actually even existed. But it's just the truth. European gods do exist. And they just don't exist the way people think. And that's a whole other story. But I want to get to the point here.
I know somebody going to have to question you on that one. Now,
cool.
You said that these beings actually exist. Now, let's solidify that. Now, how do you know that?
How do I know that these guys exist?
Exactly.
Okay, because
what makes you say that these beings exist?
Because I've met them. I've seen some of them on the higher realms.
All right.
I've seen some of their servants. My spiritual mother is considered a European deity, Venus. There's nobody in this world today that could ever convince me that Venus don't exist. Now, when I've seen Venus's true form, she has come to me as a European woman before, because that's what my mind always accepted at that point. But I'll tell a quick story. One time I was astral traveling, and I went to a higher dimension and actually went on a planet in another universe and actually went to this planet where the whole planet worships the goddess Venus. They called her something different on this planet, which makes sense. Just like on Earth, you may call a deity by a different name, you know. Huh? You say something, cousin?
No, man, you're hearing the spirits talk to you.
Right. Right. So, right. So,
psychosis going on right here.
Hey, sometimes they do come to me like that. They will pop up and just start telling me stuff. You know, they say this guy crazy on his phone. This guy must be nuts. You know. Right. But I've sat in front of people and told them all kind of things about themselves. You know, I do have that gift of being very intuitive. I wouldn't call myself psychic, even though I do possess small psychic things. I'm more intuitive. I can feel who you are, what you are. I can feel things about a person, and I've always been very accurate on that. But sometimes I do hear, yes, I am what you call clairaudience. I do hear spirits and entities, especially when I go to sleep at night. To get back to what I was saying, yes, a lot of these deities. Now, when I saw Venus, she was actually a purple-skinned. In her true higher form, she was purple-skinned. And I was just blown away at her beauty and how beautiful she was. And she was a straight-up diva, you know. But very beautiful goddess. But in this world we live in, she's considered a European deity. And these deities do appear to people in these ways because the majority of the world accepts that. You know, without really realizing that Greece and Rome was actually a black society at first. Look up the Etruscans and the Typhonians. They were the original Greeks and the original Romans. It's a certain reason why you'll see a coin with Caesar on it or something like that, and these people that have curly hair. You know what I'm saying? Only hair that curls is African hair. So that shows that they have African blood in them, and also the reason why you would see a lot of people in London, like these judges and these higher political people, they would wear these white wigs back in the day, and the white wigs were curly. And those were a reputation of the Moors. who ruled Europe for 700 years. That's a historical fact. Nobody could ever downplay that. So what I'm really saying is these Moors, they ruled all the kingships you see today in Europe were actually started by black people. That's a historical fact. That is the Moors, the Moors. So, so yes, I have met the goddess Venus in all her beauty. I see I went to a few different things here. I forgot what I was talking about before that. I think I went from the goddess. What's her name? I was talking about Adam's first wife at first, and then you asked me a question about something else. So, so yes. And I was talking about Jesus Christ also. That's what I was talking about. And I have a tendency to go off on different topics, so excuse me for that. I get carried away sometimes. But yes, the Jesus doesn't really exist. He is not a real entity in the higher realms. There are realms.
Don't be talking about nobody Jesus now.
Oh man, I apologize, y'all, but I got to do it. It's 2017. It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. I don't want to fight nobody. I don't want no fight with nobody. But I love y'all. I gotta tell y'all the truth, and some people are not able to access these higher realms, so they don't really understand. Of course, majority of people want to believe that I access these higher realms anyway. I'm just being transparent and telling people what I've seen and what I know. And I was a Christian. I did leave the church for specific reasons. I know other gods exist. Nobody will ever be able to tell me that. Jesus Christ is not the only person ruling the spiritual realm. That is not the truth, because he don't exist. So he can't rule the spiritual realm. Angels don't bow down to Jesus. Angels exist. Yes, they do. The angels exist. Demons exist. But what they did was they took multiple stories from the ancient times and they mixed it with different things. Angels at one point were considered to be deities. The deities. Lucifer was considered a deity back in Samaria. Michael was considered a deity at one point. Not just servants of God. So these are very important things to understand. And of course, these entities, their original names are not Michael and Gabriel. You know what I'm saying? But these are things that we call them today. These are things for people to think about. Have to really think on a deeper level. And so
okay, so being that you touched on that now, because we don't want to touch and go on that one. Let's park there just for a minute. You know what I'm saying? So what do you know these deities' original names to be? And again, like, we want to answer that question. What are they calling on then? If that's not who that they believe that they're calling on, then let's deal with this energy, because last program we talked about what is a demon. We're supposed to talk about that one, and because we want to talk about that because they argue with you on that, because I'll be the first one to admit, when in the church I've seen demonic forces and energies. My wife can testify to this. Saying as well, she dealt with it too. As we're former preachers of the gospel, so let me put that on the table. So now you have somebody who, and we want to touch on the exorcism too. You know what I'm saying? So,
okay, it's a lot of okay. But I gotta get to those. I'll be touching those. I gotta get to those other things I want to talk about too. The incubus and
we're taking one step at a time, but we want to close these loops. So let's deal with that. Let's deal with these energies. Let's take them one step at a time. Deal with the energies. Who are the people calling on? Explain what is actually happening. Because I remember you had you and I discussed this as well. And remember, I asked you a question like, okay, well, if I wasn't casting the demon out, then what happened? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because let the person that experienced it and the person who actually was the one performing it, let them know. It was cast out of them. Like I experienced it.
I experienced it too. I saw these things too.
I experienced it. You know what I'm saying? Like, for real. Like, if sister was standing over me, I wasn't even talking. You know what I'm saying? And this sister was saying in the name of Jesus over me. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't say anything out of my mouth, but she was saying everything I was thinking. You know what I'm saying? Because when that spirit had a hold of me, I couldn't talk. You know what I'm saying? But my thoughts, she was saying what I was thinking in my soul. You see what I mean? So how do you then explain that to a person, that experienced this real life, not actually on a movie like called The Exorcism, or, you know, some of these fake, you know, televangelists and telling lies. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You know, deal with that. Let's you know, deal with that. Let's help people to better understand what's going on here.
Okay, man, you gonna make me somebody gonna try to get me after the show is over, man. Oh man. But hey, let the truth be told, right? Let the truth be told. So okay. So first of all, I grew up in a Pentecostal church under Bishop Willie Smith Jr. I love that man to this day. I'll take a bullet for that man to this day. Always will have love for my original pastor, PMDCC, Pentecostal Miracle Deliverance Center Church, in Rochester, New York, in which man also attended when he was a younger gentleman. So we both seen things. We both seen things in that church. I know I've saw my share of things in that church. But the key is what's really happening when a man is able to call on the name of Jesus, right? And I'm sitting here telling y'all this name don't exist, or this entity doesn't exist. The name exists, but the entity doesn't exist. And they're able to cast out demons and do all that stuff in the name of Jesus. Well, in order to understand this on a deeper level, we have to go back to what Christianity is. And some people really gonna hate for me to say this stuff, but it's just, you know, and I'm only giving people snippets of it so they can go do research. I hate telling people absolutely everything. You can go do the research on a lot of these things I'm about to tell you. It's not hard to find. There's a big difference between Hebrewism, or the practice of being a Jew or practicing the Hebrew culture, and Christianity. It's two different things. It's two different things. You see what I'm saying? Jewish culture, without a shadow of a doubt, it's a historical fact, was sprung out of the Phoenician Canaanites. The Phoenician Canaanites are the original Hebrews, if that's what you want to call them. They didn't really call themselves Hebrews, but if you follow the Bible, which I don't believe is a full 100% full historical book, because there are a lot of people in there that just don't have grave sites today. You know, you got pharaohs that got grave sites from 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. They still in the grave, but you can't find Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You know, something to think about. You know what I'm saying? Something to think about. Now you can't even find Abraham. You know, and according to the Bible, that was about 6,000 years ago. Can't find him either. So we have to understand that Abraham was a Canaanite who came out of the land of Ur in Chaldea, which is in Samaria. Okay? And like I've told people before, Samaria had a lot of gods. Abraham took two gods with him. He took two main gods with him. One, he gave sacrifices to every now and then, and another one was a different thing. So one was Jehovah, or Yehovah, who was the god of war, and the other god was Yahweh. Okay? And there were many other gods, and many other gods in the Sumerian pantheon. But Abraham, being raised in this culture, he took these two deities with him. Yes, he did. And it's very simple to see that Yahweh and Jehovah was part of the Sumerian culture. These are historical facts. Now, I'm trying to make a point here. So we know for a fact that sometime the God of the children of Israel, right? Not so much of Abraham, but especially the children of Israel. He was a murdering machine. We got to be honest about this. He would murder his children, his so-called people. He demanded blood sacrifices. Yes, that's right. People who look today and say, oh, this person is a satanic person because they deal with altars and they deal with blood sacrifices, which voodoo is not really about, or these other African cultures are not really about. Yes, they do it, but it's not really about that. But the people will judge that today and call it Satanism, right? But it says clearly in the Bible that God wanted blood splattered all over the altar. You know what I'm saying? Cut this animal throat and put the blood all on the innocent animal at that. And put the blood all on the altar and take the blood and rub it on the door so the angel of death don't come get. This is voodoo. This is what people today consider to be shamanism or some type of voodoo. But it's all in the Bible. When the so-called Jews were in the so-called children of Israel were in Egypt, they told them, they said, look, if y'all don't want this angel of death to come get y'all need to kill a lamb, take the blood, and rub it on your door. If you saw somebody do something like that today, you would say they were satanic and crazy. Let's be honest about this.
Let's tell the truth about how in one portion it talks about where he was supposed to sacrifice his son Isaac.
Indeed.
You know what I'm
saying?
Indeed. To him and prove his faith. But yet, if you check, the verses before that, it says that Abraham's faith was accounted unto righteousness because he believed that he was going to have his son. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Most High said that his seed was going to be multiplied like the stars.
That's right.
What I mean? So why did he have to sacrifice his son? And then, and I believe in one of the books of the prophet, I believe it's Isaiah, if I'm not mistaken, it says that it was wrong for them to sacrifice their children unto other gods.
Exactly.
And if they did so, it wouldn't be pleasing in the sight. But then it's an oxymoron because it was like it was all right for them to do it to him, but then it was wrong to do it for anybody else.
Indeed, exactly. And exactly, and that's something very important to understand. It was wrong to sacrifice exactly what you just said. It's wrong to sacrifice children to other gods, but you can sacrifice them to me. You know what I'm saying? And we have to really understand that the God of Abraham was dealing with Abraham did deal with Yahweh and Jehovah, because Abraham also did blood sacrifices. You see what I'm saying? That's what Jehovah wanted, though. You see what I'm saying? Now, when the children of Israel was fighting wars, and let's be honest, in the Bible, children of Israel always was fighting somebody. They had to fight. They had to take over land. As a matter of fact, the Bible said they took the land from the Canaanites. Which don't really make sense because that was their people. But whatever, whatever. So at the end of the day, who in the world were these people praying to that was allowing them to win all these battles? According to the Bible, it was the God Jehovah. Jehovah, they even say in the Bible, Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Nisi. You know what I'm saying? Calling Jehovah the God of war, all these different things. My provider, Jehovah my provider. So this is the God of war. You know what I'm saying? He demanded blood sacrifices. And the gods of war, when people die and they get, the deities feed off that energy. I'm not saying these entities are really bad, but this is the reality that we're talking about here. You see what I'm saying? So now a lot of Hebrews.
Let me interject real quick, cousin, because for those who want a reference in regards to what I'm saying, I want to give it to you. Genesis,
yes, sir.
15, verse 4 through 6. Also Genesis chapter number 22, verses 1 through 2. You can also go to Leviticus chapter number 18, verse 21, and that talks about don't sacrifice their children to Moloch, because if you do so, it'll profane his name. So I know a lot of people like to have, reference in regards to when we're saying something. So, and also things that you're saying, let's give them some books they can read. Let's give them something that they can reference, like, to prove the historical data that you're talking about. Let's give people something that they can go back to, man, and study, if you will.
Well, since you already gave them scriptures they can go reference, I'm going to give them the books that they can read, a very simple book they can read to go look up these deities to see if what I'm saying is true. Matter of fact, you can Google it, but I'll rather you look up in these books. That way you will actually study, and you'll get the study of it. So you can go get a book, any book on the gods of Babylon or the gods of Samaria. There are many books out there on Sumerian gods. And you know what's funny about it? A lot of these books are hard to find and they're expensive because they don't really want, because if a Christian read this book, they'll be confused. Like, wait a minute here. You know what I'm saying? So the best thing I could tell a person to do, and I have a few of these Sumerian books. I can't think of the name of them off the top of my head because a lot of Christian things I don't deal with as much anymore. I don't get into a lot of talks and debates about it. But if I promise you, if you get any good book on the Sumerian gods, which is, you know, you can basically put that in eBay, book on the Sumerian gods, or Sumerian deities, or Canaanite gods, you will see that everything I'm telling y'all is 100% accurate. Jehovah was the god of war. Yahweh was another deity. The god El Shaddai, Elohim. This is a title of gods, but there was one superior god named El. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of these names that the Christians today give to one God, it is not accurate. You can't call Jehovah the same God as Yahweh. They two different people. Just like last show, I was telling y'all about the devil, Satan, and Lucifer. All different people.
But Christians, one of those guys also mentioned in the Kabbalah?
Yahweh is definitely, they got a different name for him in there. Yahweh is definitely a God mentioned in there. They would call him Yahweh because his name would be too holy to mention. Jehovah is mentioned in Kabbalah studies, but mostly Yahweh, which is Jehovah. Excuse me, which is Yahweh. You know, Yahweh is the supreme main deity of the Jewish and the Hebrew culture. Yahweh, they deal with Yahweh, and in that culture they call him Yahweh in the Kabbalah because his name is too holy to say. Human beings shouldn't be saying his real name, so they give him the name Yahweh. And when you study in the Kabbalah, you will see that for yourself, which is a very powerful. And I do practice and study the Hebrew culture and spirituality myself, because it's a very real and very powerful spiritual system, the Kabbalah, very powerful. They can definitely look up any good book on the Sumerian gods. You gave them the scriptures to reference, so when they look up these deities and see what I'm saying, they can put those two things together and say, "Oh, I see why he was saying what he was saying," and you can't go against it at that point. You know, you can't go against it. So, yeah, so that's that. So the next thing I want to say is, because I want to get into why, people casting out demons in the name of, Jesus.
Yeah, sure. Let's make sure we definitely on that.
Right. And some stuff going to be hard for people to understand, but, once again, just research what I'm saying. And I'm going to break some mysteries down that a lot of people don't know about, but it's going to be very important for people to understand. So now we look at Christianity, right? We must understand one thing. Jesus Christ, if he did exist, he was not a Christian. We have to understand that. He was a Jew. He practiced the Jewish culture. Now his father could have been Yahweh or it could have been Jehovah. You see what I'm saying? It could have been either one. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, Christianity today really has nothing to do. There's a small connection to the Jewish culture in that aspect. Most Christians, matter of fact, don't even believe the Jewish culture is accurate. They believe in the Bible. They don't believe in no Torah. Won't even read it. You know what I'm saying? So we have to understand that the Christianity that we call today was actually created by popes and archbishops. This is a historical fact. Once again, you can go, and this is for people, they can go research and look this up. Go look up the Nicene Council, 332 AD. You can look up this council that was created that was full of archbishops and popes, and they put the Bible together, and they came up with the name Jesus. Go research the Nicene Council, and you will see for yourself where the whole Bible and all this stuff came from. So that's something for people to study and research. Now, when you really look at the Catholic culture, because that's what started the Christianity, Catholics, whether people want to expect that, believe in that or not, because where does the archbishops and popes come from? The Catholic culture. So, and Catholic means universal. They took a bunch of different things and put it together and created Catholicism. So the Catholic Church created the Bible, and what they did was they changed certain things. They took out certain books. Everybody knows this is true. And certain deities and certain energies, they label demons, they label them angels, and different things like that. Now, I don't have to really. If I have to prove to somebody that this is not true, that this is true, then there's a problem, because most people know the Catholic Church today is not really right. You know what I'm saying? They've had multiple cases of boy molestation, child rapists, murdering of children buried under churches and synagogues. This is all facts that people can go look up for themselves. So what point am I really making here? The whole Bible, it was created from a bunch of people that was full of murder, genocide, rape, and molestation. Okay? They put this book together. All right? Now, there's a group of Catholics that follows the Pope around. And if you watch the Pope, he'll have a group of people around him called the Jesuit priests. Have you heard of them before, cousin?
I sure have.
Okay, the Jesuit priest. And if you notice, the Jesuit priest wears the colors of Satanism. Think about that for a second. The Jesuit priest, the first Jesuit priest was called Osiris. This is a fact. The supreme Jesuit is Osiris. Now remember, Osiris was cut into 13 pieces by his brother Set or Setan, and he was brought back to life by his wife in the mythology, and he became the god of the underworld, and he became called the god of the perfect black. In that instance. So what I'm really hitting at is that there's levels of Satanism that goes into the mysteries of Osiris.
Yeah, now remember, he was also called the resurrection and the life.
That's right. So Osiris was an example of Jesus, would be an example of Jesus Christ, and he was also an example of what people deem as Satan. He ruled the underworld. He was the god of the underworld at one point. He took it away from Set because Set was murdered by his son, Heru, or Horus. He was murdered by his son. He overcame him. You know, the sun sets, darkness, the sun rise. You know, so at the end of the day, Osiris became the god of the underworld. So the Jesuit priests, they go into the mysteries of Osiris, and yes, they are connected to the Satanism. I'm gonna give people another good, very powerful book that they can read. And I read this book all the time, so I know this by heart. There's a very good book called Behold a Pale Horse. And for all my Christians out there that study and research, they know what the pale horse was dealing with the four horsemen in the Bible. This man, and it's called Behold a Pale Horse. Man, I forgot the name of the guy that wrote this book. Behold a Pale Horse. I was going to bring it with me today.
That's all right.
I want to give it to the people. It's going to take me 30 seconds to look this up real quick. It's a very, because people need to read this book. And I'm about to make a statement on the book and the reason why I brought it up. On the front of the book, you're going to see a man with a skeleton face. You know how they say don't judge a book by its cover? This is the epitome of that. You know, there's so much information in here that matter of fact, the guy, he starts the book out giving all glory to Jesus Christ in the book. So all Christians really need to read that. This man was a Christian. Okay, the guy who wrote it name was William Cooper. William Cooper. It's called Behold the Pale Horse by William Cooper. Very good book. This man was murdered for writing this book. He was killed by the government for writing this book because he put out. Now, William Cooper was a former naval intelligence officer who had access to classified and unclassified documents. Well, when some of these documents became declassified, they still couldn't go to certain levels of the public or certain officers, but because he was such a high-ranking officer, he was able to take some of these documents with him. In his retirement, he went over these documents and he put a book together called Behold the Pale Horse and put it out. He put this information out. And in the book, matter of fact, the gun law, this is on CNN News not too long ago. William Cooper predicted the gun laws that's happening in America right now. It's all in his book. He said he put this book out in the early 90s, late 80s. Everything this man was saying about America is coming true. He even said in the book that they were going to try to fake the rapture. They were going to try to fake the rapture. This is a man, once again, he gives all glory to Jesus Christ in the beginning of the book. A straight Christian, but he had to tell people the truth. And they killed this man for coming out and telling people the truth. And he says in the book, Christianity and all the religions of the world was created by extraterrestrials.
Yeah, just like they killed killed Malcolm and killed Marcus and killed Fred Hampton, killed anybody that's standing up for his right.
Indeed, right. Now, there's a very interesting chapter. He has a whole chapter on what I'm about to say. This man has a whole chapter on the Satanic Church being connected to the U.S. Army. Think about what I just said for a second. He has a whole classified chapter in there, giving actual military documents about how the U.S. government was connected to the Satanic Church. He gives news articles in there that you can go back and look up. He gives you references. He gives you actual military documents in his book. So when I'm talking about these Jesuit priests and they wearing the colors of Satan, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I done did the research and the study. And this is a great book that will help people to understand what I'm talking about on a deeper level. Christianity is a parasitic religion. Because if you don't come to church crying and you don't come to church giving your tithes, the church won't survive. And people always come to church broken and you a wretch. The Bible said, he said, the wretch like me. Excuse me, the song. He said, the wretch like me. You're not a wretch. You was born almighty. You wasn't born a wretch. But this is what they've always taught us. Every little baby I look at is perfect and beautiful. They don't look like wretches to me. You know, they don't look like wretches to me.
And you was formed and shaped in iniquity.
Exactly. These are the things they say, you know, to mind wash you and mind control you. And this Christian man tells you all this in this book, how the government set it up. Goes all the way back to the Catholic Church and everything. Dropped the bomb on it. And you can't go against it because this man is giving away military documents. Military classified, declassified documents. So he says it right in the book about the Jews running the world. I mean, it goes deep. It goes incredibly deep. And every person needs to read this book. Behold the Pale Horse by William Cooper. So when you're dealing with praying for people in Christianity, and I'm sitting here telling y'all the name Jesus don't exist, well, what are you using to get rid of these spirits? Well, I'm going to say this I'm just going to come on and say this, and people going to disagree with it, and you're not going to believe me, but I'm going to tell y'all a few stories to go with it. Christianity is ran by Satanists. 100%. And when y'all read that Bible, when y'all read that book, y'all believe me. The Catholic Church is straight up Satan. They Satanists. The Catholic Church practices Satanism. Matter of fact, every president of the United States, when they become the president, they have to go meet the Pope. Because the Pope runs the world. He runs the world. They have to bow down, kiss the Pope ring, and the Pope grants them power to become the president. Donald Trump had to go do it. As a matter of fact, when Donald Trump recently went over to go see the president, to go see the Pope, he gave the Pope a Martin Luther King book and told the Pope, you will like this book. Now, wait a minute here. The Pope got access to 33 miles of books that people on earth can't even read. They got so many hidden books under the Vatican about the Knights Templars, the Moors. They got stuff about everything they don't want you to read. And you going to give him a Martin Luther King book? You know what I'm saying? He probably got the book already. I'm not going to go too deep in that thing. I want everybody to think about that for a second. You know what I'm saying? But Trump had to go see him. Obama had to go see the Pope. And every other president had to go see the Pope. Now, there's also a man called the Black Pope. Y'all can Google this and look this up. Matter of fact, at Ted Kennedy's funeral, you can go YouTube this and look up when all the presidents was coming in. And there was a man, he had a whole row to himself. I mean, people in there packing the seats. But there was one particular man from across seas. He had the whole row to himself, and all the presidents was coming shaking his hand. And at this time, I didn't know who this man was. But after research and study, I found out this man was called what you call the Black Pope. The Black Pope is a real person that really exists, and he basically controls the Pope that you see. He's part of what you call the hidden government, the hidden ones. The people that run the world, you really don't see these people. He also controls the people that surround the Pope, called the Jesuit priest. And just like the Pope wears all white, this Pope wears all black. He's basically an underboss for the Pope. And he really runs the Pope.
Y'all can Google him and look him up. Don't be scared now. Look him up. He's called. You know, our people, we get scared about a lot of stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared, man. You know, that's how you wake up. You gotta face fear sometimes. You know, you gotta face the fear. So yeah, you know, this is what's going on, and y'all see why I'm calling the church satanic. Not just from this book. I've read multiple books and received multiple information. Even talked to certain entities. Did y'all know that when a Christian is dead serious about trying to really get rid of a demon in Jesus' name, a lot of demons will laugh at you. They be like, "Who are you talking about?" But at the same time, matter of fact, y'all can go watch this man. His name was G. Craig Lewis. He came with the thing, the True Pine Hip Hop. He said he was trying to get rid of one demon, and he was saying, calling on the Holy Spirit and Jesus, and the Spirit looked at him and laughed. And this is another Christian. He said he had to end up playing music to get rid of the demon. He said he had to play music to get rid of this so-called demon. I don't believe it was a demon he was getting rid of, but either way, it was a negative entity, and he couldn't get rid of this entity by saying the name of Jesus. And this is a man that gives all glory to God. He believes hip-hop is evil and everything. But he'll tell you right in that hip-hop, True Behind Hip-Hop Part 1, that he could not get rid of it. He said, I called the angels of God to smite you. None of that was working. The demon just kept looking and laughing. It was too powerful. So, to get to my point, the reason why some people are able to cast out demons in the name of Jesus is because some people really have the gift to do that. Some people have the gift to remove entities and energies based on their bloodlines. And also belief. If you believe in something so strong, nothing can stop you. If you're putting all this love and positive energy into a negative person, and you believe that what you're doing is working, nothing can stop you. Even the Bible tells you, if you have faith the grain of a mustard seed, and you tell a mountain to move, it's going to move. I ain't seen a Christian that been able to do that, but I'm not saying that nobody can't do it. I'm one of those few people that, right. I'm one of those few people that believe anything's possible. I'm one of the people that believe anything's possible. If you believe in Mickey Mouse, and you believe that he was Jesus, and you tell the demon to leave in the name of Mickey Mouse, it will work. Yes, it would, because if you don't understand the demonic energies that are attached to your mind, that's the first place they attach to is your mental energy. And if you weaken them, you can make them. You can remove them. So it is belief that you are able to do it. Mm-hmm. Belief in your own power, even though you're calling on Jesus. The name Jesus is a trigger to open you up. And that's just the truth, whether people believe it or not. People are doing this in their own power. That's why everybody can't do it. Some people call in the name of Jesus to heal people and raise the sick and all this stuff, and it don't work.
Mm-hmm. But now,
some people call on. Let me say this last part real quick. Some people call on Jesus' name, and they're able to bring the dead back. I've seen my pastor do these things. He brought my brother back to life right in front of me.
Oh yeah.
My brother died in my mother's arms. Yeah, he was there, man. Right.
Just above the porch. I remember that.
I saw my brother stop breathing, and my pastor said, "In Jesus' name," and my brother said, he started breathing again. I saw this with my own eyes. My pastor has that gift. Now, I'm not saying all the pastors in my church all the ministers in my church could do that, because I've never seen that. It was always my pastor and his wife. They were always able to get rid of demons, heal the sick, and even raise the dead. I saw it happen. I saw it happen. And it has nothing to do with Jesus' name. My pastor is one of the, and my cousin, my pastor is one of the people, you can't tell him Jesus ain't real. He's a real old school Christian. And he believed in what he believed in. That's why it worked. It was so powerful. When I do spiritual things and I do magic and spiritual things to manifest things in my life, it works because I believe it works. So that's a big key in spirituality, period. If you want to become more enlightened, if you want to evolve, you have to believe in yourself. I tell a person, don't believe in everything, because believe means you don't know. But one thing you can know is yourself. Once you know yourself, you don't have to believe in yourself no more. Things just trigger.
Know thyself.
Know thyself. Things are true. I got a video, and maybe right. I got a video I could put up. Maybe I'll have my cousin put it up tonight or whatever, of me making a cloud disappear out the sky. This is no lie. I command the cloud in the name of the universal prime creator to disappear, and it disappeared right in front of me. Not just me, but 15 other people. Me and my wife was looking up at the cloud. I told her I could do it. She didn't believe me. But I believed myself. And I did it. The cloud vanished in the thin air. Just by talking to it. Just by talking to it. And I'll probably put this up on one of your things tonight, cousin, so people could check it out. But yeah, I've done this in front of many people. So you're going to ask me a question, cousin. What was it?
Let me see. I was trying to think about, like, what about, I'm going to have to get my thoughts together, man.
It's all good.
Escape my doggone memory, man.
It's all good. But I do want to go into real quick about these incubuses and succubuses before I forget. Because I know for a fact this is something that plagues a lot of homes. Huh?
I know what it was, because what about
okay, go ahead.
Who periodically, right? Because I've experienced this myself. You know what I'm saying? They pray and something does happen. And then at times, it's like an inconsistency. And then sometimes they do and something don't happen. So what would you say to somebody like that?
You mean a Christian?
Yes, sir.
Well, the Bible says that faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. What does that mean? That means if you're praying for God to do something for you and you don't work towards that goal, it ain't going to work. But notice how you're the one doing all the work. You can give all glory to God if you want to. It's so funny, and let me say this. Everything good that happens, we give glory to God, even though you did it. Now, there's a difference between a 100% straight miracle when you know you had no power. There's nothing you could do about it. But let's just say a person wanted a job, right? They go fill out the application. They get the resume ready. They go to the interview. And then they give all glory to God for giving them the job. You know what I'm saying? Which is okay. If that's what you want to do, fine. But let's be real about this. The reality is you really did all work yourself.
Right on.
And that's just the reality. So as soon as something bad happened, you trip and fall, sprain your ankle, something, we give all glory to the devil. Oh, the devil made me fall. The devil, messed my car up. The devil did this. And we have to come out of that mindset. Exactly. We have to pay attention. We have to pay attention to our mindset about who we giving glory to. Because whether you blame the devil, if you blame the devil for something, you're giving him glory. I tell people there ain't no such thing as bad time. It's a blessing or a lesson. It's a blessing or a lesson. Period, point blank. And the only reason why the children of Israel ever kept turning back to God is because he let the devil loose on them. In the Bible. He let the devil loose on them and they kept running back to God. You see what I'm saying? So who really is this devil? You know what I'm saying? It's something to think about. But
exactly.
But yeah. I did want to talk real quick about these incubus and succubuses real quick. But I think it's important.
Also, Satan is the tempter, and who tempted him?
That's a very good point. Now, you gonna keep making me talk about different things now. Now I gotta say something else. No. I gotta say one more thing now. Now this is funny. Well, it ain't funny, but it's interesting. In the Kabbalah, there is a Sephirah, and if you read the Kabbalah, you'll know a lot what I'm talking about by Sephirahs and stuff. There's a Sephirah, which is a level of consciousness. It's the fifth Sephirah. It's called Geburah, right? And in this Sephirah, there is something called a necessary evil. Now, the tree of life also represents different aspects of God. And what it teaches you in this fifth Sephirah is that what you call Satan or the devil is actually a part of God. It is an aspect of God that draws you back to him. In the Kabbalah, they call that a necessary evil.
Mm-hmm.
It was an evil that God allows. Yeah. Exactly. You can't have one out. So you won't grow unless you have an adversary. That's just a fact. You ain't gonna get stronger unless it's some hard. You won't learn. Your legs won't get stronger unless you put weight on them. Unless the stairs get steeper. You see what I'm saying? If you want to run faster and you want your legs to get stronger, you got to have something that's gonna make something hard for you. To give you issues and problems. That's where Satan or the devil comes in. I'm just using this from a Christian and from a Kabbalah aspect.
Like I said, I don't look at the devil and Satan and Lucifer as the same thing. But if we did look at it from a Christian perspective, Christians believe Lucifer came from God. Didn't God create him, according to Christians?
Exactly.
Well, if he did, he's a part of God. God created him, so would that make God perfect or imperfect? You see what I'm saying? He created something that causing he seems to have this thing in control, and he can lock it up whenever he wants, but he don't allow it. Matter of fact, in Revelations, the Bible says that God's going to release Satan for 1,000 years after the rapture. You know what I'm saying? Just when you thought it was over, God said, I still want to have some more fun. I still want to do some more stuff. I'm going to let these people that have made it, and he's going to test people one last time. You went through all that hell and high water to make it, and you failed the second time. You know what I'm saying? Because the devil done got let loose again. You know what I'm saying? Why in the world would you do something like that? So we have to understand what from a Christian perspective, deeper Christian perspective, what Satan is. It is simply an adversary that forces you back to God. In the Kabbalah, they call it a necessary evil. A necessary evil, or the evil that God allows, which is nothing but a part of God. Or it is God. It depends on how you look at it. So,
even in the Bible too, let me add this too. It does say that when you deal with the story of Shaul, it says that the evil spirit from God went and tormented him.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
And it says that it was another story that says that who would go and deceive these men, and that spirit was the one that volunteered, said, I will go and deceive the men and put lies in their mouths that they were lying. It says that spirit came from God. It's right in there.
Look at that. Look at that. See, people need to think on a deeper level about who they think God is. You know, and people probably think I'm crazy. Boy, God gonna get him, boy. God gonna get him good. He's talking crazy out his mouth. But people need to think on a deeper level who God is, and what you're going to realize that there's many gods. There's not just one God. Now, the Creator is above God. The Creator created the gods. All of the gods are aspects of the Creator. You know, in Egyptian culture, they called him Ra. Ra was the supreme god. Sometimes they called him Amun-Ra. And then all the other gods were underneath him. They were rays or angles of light, or angels of light. If you want to know what Michael's oldest name is, Heru. Michael was a war angel. The right hand of the Father, Michael. One of the most powerful angels there is. Before he was called Michael, he called Heru. What you call a Netzeru. The Netzeru. And people who are metaphysical, they know that what I'm saying is accurate. Michael is connected to the god Horus or Heru, which is the older version of that energy. So to go on to these real quick, these incubus and succubus, and I want to tell a quick story. Incubus and succubus, they feed off sexual energy, they feed off negative thoughts, and the more you do these things, the more they come around. They also, if you're when a teenager is going through, puberty, they come around also because these teenagers start to develop sexual desires. You know, a woman is coming into her womanhood. A young girl is coming to her womanhood. A young boy is coming to his manhood. You know, his testosterone is rising. Her estrogen is raising. These entities know that, and they start molesting these children and coming around them when they're really young. And sometimes they'll message you all the way until you're an adult. Well, I'll tell you guys a quick story about what happened to my wife when we first got married, you know. Well, when we first got married, I always noticed that, we would wake up in the morning, my wife would have scratches on her body, her leg. Sometimes it'd be X's, like somebody scratched an X on her skin. You know, and I was like, man, what's going on? You know, it's weird. She's like, I don't know. It's been happening since I was a young teenager. She said, I've always noticed these things. And then one particular day, she ended up telling me, she said, you know, since I was young, this entity used to come to me and have sex with me. Since I was a young girl. I said, what? So yeah, this shadow man would come to me, you know. She said, but he don't pop up as much as he used to. I said, that's interesting.
So when we got married, you know, and you know, I'm studying my spirituality. I'm getting deeper into everything. I'm studying stuff real heavy. And I used to get up and go to work at this particular metal company at this one time. And I used to go to work at like 6 o'clock in the morning. So the wife would still be sleeping in bed. I don't think she had to be to work till 9 at that time. So she, you know, one particular night was getting ready to go to bed. She said, you know what, honey? She said, every night, every morning you've been leaving for the past like 2 months. As soon as you close the door, I go paralyzed. I can't move. She said, I'm sleeping, but I know I'm awake, but I'm asleep at the same time, right in the middle of it. She said, I see this man. He walks through the door. He gets under your side of the bed, and he has sex with me. So I'm thinking at first, my mental thought was like, what you mean a man? You know what I'm saying? Like, what you talking about? She said, I don't know. I can't see him. He's a shadow person. He's shaped like a shadow, you know, and he gets in the bed, and he has sex with me.
Almost sounds like, like that Mary story, brother.
Huh?
It almost sounds like that Mary story. The spirit overshadowed her and she got pregnant.
Right. Oh, man. Well, at the time, I didn't know what it was. You know, I'm like, what in the world is this? So I proceeded to do some studies and research, and I came across this book that I want everybody to invest in. I think it's an incredible book. If you're into this metaphysics, and I understand that some people who get on this line, they may disagree with me totally. And it's okay. It's not for you. This is mostly for people who are interested in these things and they're into these things. There's an incredible book called The Secret Teaching of All Ages. The Secret Teaching of All the Ages. And it's written by Manly P. Hall. His name is spelled Manly P. Hall, Hall. The Secret Teaching of All the Ages. And this is the book I got into. I was studying because it has so many answers to deep metaphysical and deep spiritual questions in here. And I came across this one thing about a group of entities called incubus and succubus. You know, going through all my information, studying, reading, trying to figure out what this thing was all about. So I came across this, and I started reading about these entities and what they do. And I knew without a shadow of a doubt that these entities were connected to what was having sex with my wife and everything. So I studied it, and then what I did was I took another book. I don't think people are ready for that book. It's a spiritual magical book. And I just ain't gonna give out no book if people ain't gonna be doing magic or spiritual things. So I'm gonna just say it was a spiritual book I had, and it taught me how to use protective spells to protect people I love and protect myself. So what I did was I used to have an Eye of Horus necklace. That's a very powerful protective symbol. And I took some oil and I rubbed it on the necklace and I prayed over the necklace. And I told my wife to wear it when she's sleeping. So she had the little gold necklace, so she put it on her little gold necklace and she wore this amulet. And all of a sudden, all that stuff stopped. She said the next morning, the thing never came into the room. And for the next whole week, it was like that. I would say about a week later, I went to sleep. All of a sudden, I'm sitting in my living room, and somebody knocks at my door. So I open the door, and it's a man standing at my door. He says, "Look, man, it's raining outside. I was wondering if I could use your phone." So me being a kind-hearted person, I said, "Yeah, come on in, man. Use my phone." So as soon as he picks up the phone in my kitchen, somebody else knocks at the door. I go to the door, and I open the door, and the same man is standing at my door that I just let in my house. I'm like, did this guy got a twin brother? He didn't tell me about it. So I turned around, look at him, and his face became distorted, like his smile, like curled up like a cartoon. And his teeth looked really sharp, and he like looked at me in the eyes. And I looked back at the guy in front of me, and I punched him. You know what I'm saying? Us being black people, you know, we just, you know, it's just a reflex. You know what I'm saying? If you startle me, I'm just going to hit you. Boom. Mm-hmm. You know? I remember one time, I don't know if you remember this, man. I was staying out at your house, and I had a sheet over my head walking up the room to see what you was doing, and you almost kicked my head off. I remember that. You was staying at the gateway at the time. I'll never forget. And he was like, and I happened to look, and your foot was just in my face. I just felt the wind, like, whoop, you know? I said, what's up? What's wrong? He said, man, you scared me, man.
You say you don't come in here with no sheet over your head. I thought you was a ghost, man. I'll never remember that. I'll never forgot that as long as I live, man. I'll never forgot that, man. But but so I'm looking at these two guys. Now the guy in front of me pulls the gun out. He says, "Let me in the house." So he comes in the house. It's funny how he said, "Let me in," and I let him in. I probably could have told him no, but I let him in the house, and they basically, these two entities, which were succubuses, which were incubuses. Incubuses are male entities, and succubuses are females. The incubuses basically put the gun in my head and made me watch them rape my wife in front of me. That was their payback for me blocking their energy, so they couldn't come in. So they wasn't really raping my wife in the real world, but in my reality, in my dream state, they was doing that to her. And they said, and they kept telling me, you can't stop us, you can't stop us. And that was a real experience I had with succubuses that was attached to my wife for many years, from a young girl. And to this day, she never had that problem again with these entities. Because I went to war after that. I'm going to just tell you, I went to war after that. And I don't think everybody ready to hear what I did, but I did some things to block them, make sure they can never even come in my vicinity again. You know, and that was years ago when I was a younger magician. Now they wouldn't even try. You know, so that's a real experience I had with these entities. So I would just want to warn people to, if they can, get some type of protective protective amulet. I would recommend for a cheaper version, get you a pentagram, which I know most people ain't gonna get that. They probably scared of that thing, but a pentagram works excellent. Also get you Eye of Horus necklace, that will help. Also you can get you some sea salt and throw them in the corners of your room. This will protect the room that you sleep in. And also you can sleep with a black crystal under your pillow while you're sleeping at night. Get you something called an onyx stone and sleep with this onyx stone under your pillow while you're sleeping. And the last thing I'll tell you is the 72-letter name of God. Print that off the internet. Take the 72-letter name of God and put it under your pillow while you're sleeping at night. And it will block these entities from coming into your space in your dreams so they won't attack your children or attack you sexually. You know, sexually. So, and they're not really hurting you. They're just trying to drain your energy. So I just wanted to share that story and give people a quick idea of, I know we went off on a lot of different topics today, you know, but I want to tell people about these entities and what they do and how they can protect themselves in case someone out there is having an issue or a problem with these entities. So
wonderful. And also I want to inject too, for those who were wondering, the reference that I have for that scripture is 1 Samuel chapter number 16, verses 13 through 14. That's the one talking about the evil spirit came from God and tormented Shaul.
Yeah. And, so that's very important information because African-American people especially, now it's even African people, we have to get back into who we originally were. And we have to understand that Christianity was something that was given to us in slavery. You know, I'm pretty sure everybody on here or people who's going to watch this, they've seen the movie Django. And they saw how the slave master beat the scriptures into the girl. He was beating her on the street and quoting the scriptures while he was beating her. You see what I'm saying? And that was something to brainwash the slave so the slave would never want to go against God or the slave master. Or the slave
and
master.
Nat Turner, too. That movie, Nat Turner, man, that's an excellent movie, too, that shows you the reality of what happened during that time.
Exactly. Yeah, all you got to do is say that name, Nat Turner was. That's a very powerful and interesting figure in African-American history that stood up for what he believed in, you know, without a shadow of a doubt. So funny because they killed him on my birthday, November 11th. You know, when I was researching and studying his story. So, yeah, very, very powerful, man. And, you know, it's time for us to get back into the stuff that we created and get back into our power because while we are using Christianity and Islam, Europeans
Asian people, they're all into their spiritual culture. All of them. You go into any nail shop and see a Buddha in there. Go to a Chinese restaurant, you're going to see Buddha. You know, these people still practice their culture. Don't get me wrong, there are some Asian people that get into Christianity, but the vast majority of Asian people practice their culture. Yes, they do, you know. Jewish people, they practice their culture, even though it don't really belong to them, you know. But they practice the culture that they believe in. African Americans, we're the only people that practice a culture. That's somebody. Latino people practice their culture, and some of them are into Catholicism, because that was something that was put on them when the slavery was down in their island. But a lot of them practice Santeria also, which comes out of Africa. So, and they use the saints as gods, as shields for the gods, to hide the gods. Because the slave master would have killed them if they found out they was praying to another god. You know? So these are things that we need to really get back to so we can have power, have our power. You know, we need to raise our children in these things so that they can have power because it's connected to their blood, whether people want to believe it or not. And let me say this last thing, too. I've been in the astral plane. I've seen Christians sitting inside of churches, standing around churches. They really have nowhere to go. I'm talking about the very hardcore Christians that passed away from this realm. They're stuck. And I went up to one of them, and I said, hey, you know, you can leave if you want to. These people looked me in the eye and said, we waiting on the Lord. I'm looking around like, well, he ain't here. You know what I'm saying? How long y'all been waiting? And, of course, they didn't give me no answer. They didn't even know how long they've been there. But they waiting on Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
If they waiting on Jesus, you know. And sometimes what will happen is the angels will disguise themselves, and they will take a lot of those people out of there. But the people have to want to leave. Because angels don't force you against your will.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just like people who are in hell-like states, nobody is meant to suffer forever. I don't care if you killed 150 million people. You will not suffer forever in a hell-like state. Eventually, you have to come back. You have to pay back your karma and fix your life. You know, I thank the Creator for that, because the Creator is not a person that will just throw you in a lake of fire for all eternity. He gives you chance after chance after chance. Chance after chance after chance. To get it right. So,
and also let's talk about, you know, in closing too, you know, it's amazing how, you know, their Lord and their Savior, and this is no mockery to them, but how their Lord and their Savior died, right? And was going through a room, you know, and what have you, and let me take it step by step real quick. Born through a woman, you know, died, was resurrected, went up to heaven, and they prayed. They prayed to this being. But it's so much of an issue for us to pray to our ancestors.
Good point. Very good point. Very good point. And your ancestors is the first defense, because they're the people that loved you. Even the messed up ancestors we got. You know what I'm saying? That one uncle or that one auntie that really wasn't no good, you know. They love you on the other side. You feed them, you help them, you give them energy, they will protect you because they are your family. They are your family. So, now don't get me wrong, there are some ancestors sometimes that get out of hand and you have to do things to slow them down and teach them that they're dead. And a lot of them do that because they don't know they're dead. But nine times out of 10, all your ancestors are there to help you, especially ones that loved you. They need you on the other side. And maybe one day we'll do a show about ancestor work and how people can work with their ancestors and get responses from their ancestors, you know, because you'll see them in your dreams way before you see a deity, you know. And I'm going to share this one quick story. I went to a spiritualist church one day, and for people who don't know what a spiritualist church is, it's not so much of a spiritual church, but it is. It's more of a church where they deal with people who basically read. They deal with the dead. They basically read. They can read people that passed away. I forgot what you call those people. People who deal with divination and I don't want to call them psychics. They're not really psychics. They deal mostly with your ancestors and stuff. But these people run the church. You know, they run the church, and these churches are called spiritualist churches. So I make jewelry for people who don't know. I have a company called New Life Tools, and I make organite pieces, and they have real powerful energy on them. So the real recognize, and they could just see it on me when I'm wearing it. And I had an uncle on in a store one time coming to pick up some money for selling some pieces, and a guy noticed that he invited me to his church. It was a spiritualist church. So I went to the church, and I said, I'm one of these people are real. So I remember one time the lady got on the stage, and she was ministering. She was doing like a real preaching, whatever you want to call it. You know, but she was giving a sermon, and at the end of it, they get up and they tell people about what their ancestors are saying on the other side. So I'm sitting back there. So got to be about probably 200 people in the church. I'm sitting back there minding my business, and the lady calls me out. She said, "You young man, you sir, yes, stand up." So I remember I had an elephant shirt on, representing the god Ganesh, and she asked me what kind of shirt was that. You know, I said, "Oh, it's an elephant." She said, "Oh, okay, I just wanted to make sure." She says, "I want to tell you, young man, you have a line of people behind you, standing behind you." She said, "There's so many of them, they're going out the back of the church." I said, "Oh, okay, wow." And then when she said that, I knew she was real, because one thing, people who know me, I deal with that ancestor work heavy. I'm heavy into ancestor work, feeding my ancestors. So she saw this on me, and I said, "This lady's real." You know, because I know that's a fact when she said that. She said, "These people that are standing behind you," she said, "and they're telling you they want you to dance." I'm like, dance? She said, and I said, "Oh, I don't know about dance." She said, "They want you to loosen up," in so many words. You know, you too hard on yourself about that. I said, wow, this lady is hitting it on the nose. And I knew that she was real at that point. I'll never forget she had blue skin. And that's kind of hard to understand, but I think she might have experimented with colloidal silver, making it by herself, and she might have messed herself up or whatever. But, yeah, she told me that. So the ancestor work, when they're around you, the real people know. Very powerful practice to get into, which is our original practice.
So before you get off, man, it'll be great. Tell the people how they can contact you via social media.
Yes. I have a Facebook page, of course, Yusavinder L. You can contact me on there, Messenger or whatever. I have an Instagram page called New Life Tools. You can also contact me on my email. It's Chief Yusef, CHIEF YOSEF, Chief Yusef @gmail.com. You can also contact me at newlifetools.com @gmail.com. That's NULYFETOOLS, newlifetools @gmail.com. You can contact me on either one of those emails, newlifetools @gmail.com.
Wonderful. So, people, we thank everybody for tuning in to the School of Thought. Again, it's Yosef Indrael, my brother Amar Amari, and we appreciate you calling in.
Well, wait 1 second, cousin. Let me say my email once more, because I think I might have told him it wrong. It's Chief Yusef Bey @gmail.com. So Chief CHIEF Yusef YOSEF Bey BEY @gmail.com. You can contact me on there.
Wonderful. So again, brothers and sisters, we thank you for tuning in. Again, every Sunday, unless otherwise, said, we'll have this segment called the School of Thought at 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Sunday. Also, if we're going to have a program on any off days, I'll make sure that I post the information. Also, you can find our last segment that we did on the YouTube channel that we have called BC. That's Boy, C, as in cat, Empowerment. It's all together. You can find us on YouTube again. The video that we did is on there. The last session that we did, if you want to hear everything that we discussed last time, if you didn't get an opportunity to call in or you just found out about us, feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And, again, we appreciate you calling in. We say peace and light to you, family. Love you. Peace and blessings. Talk to you, brothers and sisters, soon. Peace, peace.
Peace, family. Peace, family.